Today on the Big 3 in 30, the Grizzlies get an injury update on Ja Morant.
The main guys, for the most part, have injuries.
The Magic lose Franz Wagner for the season.
Franz Wagner will be out indefinitely. He will be reevaluated in 3 weeks.
And the Kings shut down 2 of their stars.
We're going to dive into this Damontas, Sabonis, Zach LaVine situation.
This is the Big 3 in 30 NBA. The 3 biggest stories in the NBA from our local experts at the Locked On Podcast Network. We bring you the real story, why it matters, what's next, who wins the big game, and more, all in 30 minutes. The Big 3 in 30 NBA starts now. Thank you for making the Big 3 in 30 your first listen of the day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. The Grizzlies enter the second half of the NBA season 5 games out of the play-in in the West and could really use star Ja Morant back on the court for the final push. The team announced Morant will miss at least the next 2 weeks as he deals with a sprained elbow. And DeMichael Cole breaks down the situation on Locked On Grizzlies.
The main guys, for the most part, have injuries. Ja Morant is what we're going to talk about in the second segment. Ja's going to get his own segment because the Grizzlies issued an update on Ja Morant after yesterday's practice. And Ja Morant is going to be reevaluated in 2 more weeks from his left elbow UCL sprain. He is still experiencing some discomfort there. So the Grizzlies are going to reevaluate him in 2 more weeks. If you remember, January 21st, I had a real big game against the Atlanta Hawks, 23 points, 12 assists. Hit his elbow on the backboard in that game, felt some discomfort. The Grizzlies said he'd be reevaluated in 3 weeks. The 3 weeks has passed now. I think you're about 3.5, close to 4 weeks at this point. And now he's going to be reevaluated. He wasn't at practice. Now, it could be very well because this announcement came out after practice, so he could have been getting some attention there. But yeah, so that's pretty much the latest on that situation with Ja. I don't think anyone should be surprised to hear that news, in particular for a lot of reasons. But none more than the fact that this is a left elbow injury. They say he's continuing to experience some discomfort. There's also the part about the fact that the Grizzlies, again, they've said time and time again, they're pivoting to a younger build. You're going to see these younger guys get a lot of playing time, and some of the other players are going to get more opportunity to get healthy, so to speak. And I say that when I say that, I mean that a lot of times, you see guys play through certain types of injuries or whatever the case may be. Not saying in this case that Ja could play through this, but sometimes you see guys play through certain injuries and hold off on surgeries and things like that. And now, makes a lot of sense for the Grizzlies. If you got older guys who are nicked up a little bit, take a little bit extra time because you need to prioritize, get these younger guys playing time, getting these young guys experience, whatever the case may be. But here's what the injury means, I think, going forward. One, it means that obviously it will be at least a couple more weeks before we see Ja Morant on the floor, and likely even longer than that because it's reevaluated in a couple weeks. It doesn't say return to play in a couple weeks. And a couple weeks will be March. And the season ends in April. So you're talking, at that point, probably 20 games left at best. Maybe if he's reevaluated after that and given a time frame to return to play, you're probably talking 15, 16 games left in the NBA season. And at that point, you're saying, does it even make a lot of sense to bring Ja Morant back and play? So for those wondering and saying, look, has Ja Morant played his last game this season? It's a fair question. It's a fair question. I know I've been asked that question a few times. I do not know the answer to it. I do not know the answer. But my gut at this point just feels like they're not going to play him the rest of the season. I'm more confident in the idea of Zach Edey coming back and playing than Ja Morant playing this season between the two. And I know that's a surprise to some people, but I personally feel more confident that we'd see Zach Edey this season than Ja Morant because of this injury situation. But again, You're going to get to see Walter Clayton Jr. a little bit more here. Scottie Pippen Jr. and Ty Jerome have just gotten healthy, so they're going to get to play a little bit more. And I think that's pretty much the crux of the situation here. Ja Morant remains out. We'll see, how he continues to progress. Again, I didn't see him at practice. The Grizzlies will practice today as well, so maybe we'll see him, maybe we won't. I'll have all that information for you guys as well as things continue to unfold on that. We talked about Ja Morant's injuries in the last segment. We also talked about G.G. Jackson as well. So this has been a South Carolina heavy episode. Shout out to the South Carolina boys so far. But the Grizzlies had a lot of injuries. Talked about Ja in the last segment, but a lot of guys have injuries right now, and we're kind of going to, just go through the latest. Again, I was at practice on yesterday, saw some of these guys working out, saw a couple of these guys not working out, and kind of got, I guess you could say, the 411 or the latest on all the situations of the key injury players. We'll start with Cedric Howard because Cedric Howard missed one game, right knee soreness, and then he sat out over the All-Star break. He didn't play in the Rising Stars game as well. He was at practice. I saw Cedric Howard get some shots up, all of that good stuff. But he also was able to rehab. I want to add that. He was able to rehab over the course of the break. And again, I saw him get some shots up, but he didn't do work with the team. He didn't. So all of his work was apparently individual stuff, according to Grizzlies coach Tomas Islo, and he's still making progress. So look, he's still doing some individual work. Sounds like the Grizzlies are being careful there. We're going to learn more the next couple of days on his status for the upcoming game on Friday. Santi Aldama, let's move to him. Santi Aldama is a little bit more of a complex situation. Santi played in one game recently, and he missed 8 others in between that. So he's missed 8 of the past 9 games, and there's like one played game against the Sacramento Kings just sandwiched in there. And basically that was because, he was experiencing some discomfort in his knee, and they've been trying to figure this thing out. The injury is still nagging him. He was another player who was seen during the media viewing portion of practice. The Grizzlies just seem to really be wanting to be careful with this situation and just basically get to the bottom of it because it continues to flare up. Here's what Tomas Islo said. He said, we want to get it to a baseline. He said, we spent those few games trying to go a little bit back and forth, and it flared up every time. He continues to flare up. So again, they're going to be careful. They're going to monitor this thing. And that's just where things stand with Santi Aldama right now. Brandon Clark and Zach Edey both have been sidelined since December. 2 centers that the Grizzlies could definitely use sometime in the near future. But both of those guys remain out with injuries. But Tomas Islo did say that there will be updates provided here sometime soon on both players. If you've been following the timelines roughly, Zach Edey should be reevaluated sometime in late February, early March. Brandon Clark was given a 4 to 6 week return to action timeline, previously, and he's about on the 5th week right now. So next week will make 6 weeks. We'll see how he continues to progress. I've seen him, doing individual workouts around the team, going all the way back to before the All-Star break when we were in Sacramento and Portland during the road trip. But that's kind of where things stand on the Grizzlies injury front for the most part right now. It's not pretty. I know there's some people want to see those guys, right? You got a little tease of Zach Edey. You got a little tease of Ja Morant playing with Zach Edey, and you got a little tease of, what this group could really look like. But you know what? You can't really keep reflecting on that. It is what it is at this point. And now it's more about who's going to be available in this stretch run, who's going to be able to develop as the Grizzlies turn the page, and they're focusing more on developing these guys. Who's going to take advantage of those minutes? Who's going to be the guy you say, oh, yeah, that's a guy who can be a future piece for us? Who's going to be the guy who maybe folds in that time? And it's like, he got an opportunity, he ain't do nothing with it. So it could go either way. We're going to see how that continues to fold out and how that process continues to play out with Grizzlies players.
The Winter Games are officially here, and if you're anything like us, you're locking in for the events you only get to see on the big stage once every 4 years. And that's why following the Winter Games on FanDuel just makes sense. From medal counts to individual events to finding your angle on the sports you care most about, FanDuel gives you more ways to stay connected to all the action. It's the building drama of curling matches, which always seem to be on. Races decided by inches or fractions of a second. Both popular and niche events become must-watch when you're fully locked in to the competition. The Winter Games are on, and there's no better place to follow than on FanDuel. FanDuel, play your game.
Welcome back to the Big 3 and 30 NBA. The Magic hope to make a playoff run this season, but will have to do it without one of their key players. Franz Wagner will miss the rest of the season with an ankle injury, and Philip Rossman-Wright tells us how Orlando can adjust on Locked On Magic.
We've spent the last 2 days talking about what feels now like this mythical moment when the Magic would have all of their players available. We spent our time talking about how the Magic just haven't been whole for the last 2 years, and that we haven't really seen this team come fully together. And if there was a little bit of hope that the Magic could salvage something from this season, that the Magic could build some momentum into the offseason, it was that these last 29 games would be proof of concept that what the Magic have works. The stats all say it does. Magic's starting lineup still one of the best starting lineups in the league. The Magic's main quartet of Paolo Banchero, Franz Wagner, Jalen Suggs, Desmond Bane still has incredible offensive and defensive ratings, incredible net rating. Maybe not like one of the elite quartets in the league, but still very, very good. And there is no reason to think that this group could not figure things out if only they were healthy. But all that took a huge blow on Wednesday morning and Wednesday afternoon, when the Magic announced that Franz Wagner, after further scans and further examination, was still feeling soreness in his left ankle, in his left foot. That suffered a high ankle sprain back on December 7th. And after careful deliberation, the Magic decided it was time to shut him down again for a period to let that soreness subside. Franz Wagner will be out indefinitely. He will be reevaluated in 3 weeks. That is March 11th. That means he will miss at least 11 games. And in all likelihood, there needs to be a ramp-up period of another week. So that's probably another 2 or 3 games there. That is nearly half of the 29 remaining games this season. The Magic are not uncomfortable playing hurt. They've been doing it all season, but undoubtedly, Franz's injury point. In the 29 games since Franz Wagner's injury back in New York, Orlando is 14-15. They are 25th in offensive rating in that time. They are 20th in defensive rating. It is a testament to their talent and their potential that they've been able to stay afloat, but this team has not been consistent. And that's not all because Franz is out, but certainly having one of your best players, having one of your better players on the floor, like, yeah, that matters. And everybody knows it matters. Now, I'll make the argument, and I'll continue to say that nothing changes. This team is talented enough and good enough, if they could put all the pieces together, to still achieve their goals this season. And again, whether you want to hear it or not, their goal for the rest of the season is to get out of the play-in. That's all that matters. That's how I'm going to judge these 29 games. And that doesn't change because Franz Wagner's out. But this team can't compete at the highest levels without their full complement of players, without all of their players in place and in rhythm. And the fact of the matter is, these last 2 seasons, the Magic have struggled to get all those pieces in place. Orlando finished 12-6 last year because Paolo and Franz found their groove together. And the Magic are going to need a similar push. We'll talk about Paolo here in a minute. But this is a humongous loss. This is another crushing blow from a guy who was averaging 23.4 points per game, shooting 48.7% from the floor and 35.4% from three, having the breakthrough that everybody hoped for, showed signs even in the that he's played since of the player who can make a huge difference. Clearly not all the way back in those games, but the Magic clearly have enough. Again, in 148 minutes and 13 games together, the Magic's main trio of Paolo, Franz, and Jalen Suggs have a 119.3 offensive rating and 106.9 defense. This is a good group. This thing works. And there are tweaks that need to be made. And I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, just run it back. It's fine. No, the Magic do need to injury-proof their roster a little bit more. It's been 2 straight years of injuries, and the Magic have had the bottom fall out on them. And again, we'll talk about Paolo here in a minute. The Magic have just simply struggled since Franz got hurt. And while it's been good to see Anthony Black emerge, and he's been a big reason why the team has stayed afloat. And it's been good to see Desmond Bane be what the Magic need him to be. It's been clear that the whole isn't more than the sum of their parts. And that's why Franz is so important, because he is an elevator. He is someone that makes others better, that takes attention away, can attack off the dribble, which the Magic don't have enough guys who can attack off the dribble. That is something they have to address in the offseason. That's the direction this league is going offensively, having everybody be able to attack off the dribble. The Magic don't have enough of those guys. And we'll see in the playoffs when the Magic get there. It's going to be the Magic banging their head against a wall again, just like it was against Cleveland, just like it was against Boston. This is a huge loss. And, again, I am sick. That's why my energy is low. It's not because of this, but certainly it feels like there is this pall over the team. I've been saying this to people for a while. Look, this season is not just about injuries. Injuries are a big part of the problem. And, it's hard for any team to overcome the major injuries that this team has had to fight through and deal with. It'd be one thing if you missed Tristan da Silva and you were playing Jonathan Isaac or Noah Penda in that spot. It'd be one thing if it's, Mo Wagner was out for a long time. You got Goga Batadze. It's one thing if it's a role player. But the Magic have been missing key stars throughout the course of this season. And it is really hard to win when you're missing key players. But I want to make this clear too. Again, everyone is freaking out about the injuries. They're questioning the medical staff. And I think there are some fair questions. Again, I don't like to question the medical staff because they're just working with more information than us. And look, high ankle sprains are really tricky, really tricky. Franz is someone who wants to play. I think this is a case as much as anything of Franz thinking he's better than he is, and he's not, and he wasn't ready in both instances that he came back. He wants to help his team win, and sometimes you got to protect the player from himself a little bit. But whether you're talking about the problems with coaching, and again, it feels like the Magic are going to have to really examine Jamal Mosley this summer because they can't change the roster, as I noted earlier this week. This core is the core. They're not changing that. And so you have to ask yourself, with 2 straight first-round exits, 2 disappointing seasons, what can you change? We could talk about whether Wendell Carter is the right option. I know I'm certainly more of a Wendell Carter supporter than most Magic fans, but Wendell Carter is another player that I think will be shopped and will be looked at to move. But all of that is dancing around the bigger problem. All of that is dancing around the bigger issue of this season. And that is quite simply, Paolo Banchero hasn't been good enough. Excuse me. Now, a lot of people have taken that criticism and said, oh, I hate Paolo. I don't. I love this kid. I think he is a great player. I think he can be that all-NBA player. I believe in him, and we'll talk plenty about him in the offseason. But you don't give up on a 23-year-old that's accomplished the things and done the things that he's done. For all the criticisms that we want to say about Paolo, he is trying to do the right things. He is taking fewer mid-range shots. I know he is missing those pull-up shots and missing a lot of those mid-range shots, but he's taking fewer of them. Getting to the basket more. He's still a free throw merchant. He's averaging a career high in rebounds. His assist numbers are right in line with where they're supposed to be. He's actually shooting even a career high true shooting percentage. Now, I will grant you that true shooting percentage, it's 55.8%, I believe. That true shooting percentage is still bottom 10 in the league among players with a usage rate of 25% who play at least 25 minutes per game. I will also note that usage rate is better than some notable players, including Jalen Williams, who a lot of people tend to compare Paolo to. Paolo has not Paolo's delivered statistically. Sure, he hasn't had the scoring burst games, and the Magic are going to need those. He has only 5 30-point games this year. He had, I think, 18 last year.
The Winter Games are officially here, and if you're anything like us, you're locking in for the events you only get to see on the big stage once every 4 years. And that's why following the Winter Games on FanDuel just makes sense. From medal counts to individual events to finding your angle on the sports you care most about, FanDuel gives you more ways to stay connected to all the action. It's the building drama of curling matches, which always seem to be on. Races decided by inches or fractions of a second. Both popular and niche events become must watch when you're fully locked in to the competition. The Winter Games are on, and there's no better place to follow than on FanDuel. FanDuel, play your game.
Welcome back to the Big 3 and 30 NBA. The Kings sit at the bottom of the standings and decided to shut down a couple of their stars for the season. Both Zach LaVine and Damontas Sabonis got season-ending surgery earlier this week, and James Ham goes over the moves on Locked On Kings.
We're going to dive into this Damontas Sabonis, Zach LaVine situation because that's exactly what happened on Wednesday afternoon. We went to practice. We're right in the middle of interviewing Doug Christie at practice. Doug having a good old time explaining what's next for the Sacramento Kings and how they're going to handle the second half of the season. And that's when a tweet goes down from ESPN Shams Charania telling us that Damontas Sabonis has undergone surgery on his left knee and will be lost for the remainder of the season. Shortly after we got done with Doug Christie, a media relations member came over and said, look, get ready. We got some updates. The updates weren't good. Not good at all. Realistically, Damontas Sabonis being lost for the season is not good news for the Kings unless you're in the pro tank camp. If you're in that pro tank camp, we'll get to why this matters so much in a minute. But look, Damontas Sabonis making like $43 million this year. He underwent surgery to repair a torn meniscus in his left knee. And of course, you get the successful injury report from the Kings this evening. But look, when you're the franchise player at this point, and that's what Sabonis is, with De'Aaron Fox gone, he is the last remaining link to a franchise player that the Kings have. And he just hasn't been able to stay healthy all year. He tore the meniscus a couple of months ago. He sat out for 2 months with the injury. And of course, that didn't go all that well. When he returned, he played, I think it was 7 out of 8 games before he started having back problems. That shut him down as well. It's better for him to go and get this taken care of now. So he's healthy for this summer. He's healthy for early next season. A rehab / return from an injury like this typically isn't that long. Like the initial prognosis was 3 to 4 weeks if he underwent surgery. The fact that they're putting him out for the season right now just means there's going to be an abundance of caution for him as he heads into the offseason. Again, he's on a contract for another 2 years, makes roughly $48 million the next 2 years. So you want him healthy, especially if the Kings are going to potentially shop him this summer. Now, the Zach LaVine situation is a little different. It's a little strange. And to be honest, I don't know where everything went wrong with Zach LaVine, but it went wrong. That's just the way it's gone in Sacramento. He did play 39 games this season, but while we were going through a media session today, Zach LaVine was in an operating room having his the tendon on his 5th finger, his pinky finger tendon on his shooting hand repaired. He's going to be out at least 8 weeks. They're reevaluating him in 8 weeks. I'm looking at the calendar. The calendar says February 18th. That means that Zach LaVine's done for the year. 8 weeks is basically mid-March. He's done. And so we've seen the last of Zach LaVine. Again, I think one of the bigger things that matter here, Zach LaVine did not have a great season. We've talked about it here a couple of times. Again, the first 6 games of the season, he's at 29.5 points per game. He looks phenomenal. After that, he averages 17.3 points per game. He clearly wasn't happy with his role and his place with the Kings and what that means for him going forward. We don't know. To be honest, the Kings were ready to move on at the trade deadline, and there were no takers for Zach LaVine's $47 million contract this season. But I think this does really speak volumes about like the trouble the Kings are in as a franchise. They just lost $90 million worth of players in one day, where 2 guys underwent surgery that combined for $90 million this season. Those same 2 guys, it's like $95 million for next season. You need them healthy. You need them healthy so you can potentially trade them. You need them healthy so you can do something other than be in the situation you're in. But at the same time, like, look, I don't know that either of these guys are long for this franchise. And it's a difficult moment to watch guys go out for the year. But if Zach LaVine is healthy and comes back next season, I don't know that he's a starter. I don't know that he has a place on this team as of right now. And to be honest, there's almost no reason to bring him back even next season. So I expect the Kings to shop him and his $49 million contract all summer long. I expect if they can't get rid of him at this point, they'll get rid of him by the trade deadline. And if not, then he expires and the Kings have a whole bunch of extra money going into the summer of 2027. I do think there will be value with him. And that's a big thing for the Kings, is their value. As of right now, there's not value as a player. I think we all understand that. Zach LaVine is not a bad player, but he's an extremely expensive player. If Zach LaVine made $25 million, he wouldn't be on the Kings at this point. They would have already traded him. And the mistake here, realistically, was trading for Zach LaVine in the first place. Just a square peg for a round hole. They didn't have a point guard once they traded De'Aaron Fox for Zach LaVine, so that created its own problem. And so, look, at a certain point, I think we all understood that Zach LaVine wasn't going to be a part of this program much longer. And I didn't think it would end like this, but it's very possible we've seen the last of Zach LaVine in a Sacramento Kings uniform. And that's just the reality of the situation. Now, Sabonis, again, he has 2 years left. Like according to my sources and very high-ranking sources, the Kings came extremely close to trading Damontas Sabonis at the trade deadline. He actually went out and played to show that he was healthy and ready to actually contribute, and that he could contribute in the second half of the season if a team decided to go ahead and make a move. The Toronto Raptors were calling. The Kings and Raptors couldn't come to an agreement. I think that there is a high possibility that these two teams have more conversations this summer, and that it's possible that Damontas Sabonis is moved to a team like Toronto or maybe somewhere else. We will have plenty of time here. He'll be 100% healthy, but also I think it kind of opens a door for, Sabonis to be 100% healthy, and whether he's going to be a King or not next season, the season after, we don't know at this time, but there's a good chance that we have seen the last of Damontas Sabonis as well in Sacramento.
That's all for today's Big 3 in 30 NBA. If you follow football or college sports, the Big 3 in 30 has shows for the biggest news in the NFL and on campus going up every weekday just like this one. Just search the Big 3 in 30 NFL or the Big 3 in 30 College wherever you're listening or watching right now. Thanks again for tuning in to the Big 3 in 30 NBA.